Hi everyone, I have been recently testing out some fantastic stuff. One of the things I've been testing out is the KAT VR Treadmill. I've currently been testing it out paired with the KAT NEXUS, which essentially makes your Quest 3, Quest 3S, even Quest 2, it makes it work with a VR treadmill without a PC or anything like that. Now there's some caveats to that I'll get into later in the video, but I'm just going to show you a little bit about this treadmill, a bit about the setup and stuff like that, sort of my first impressions going forward. This isn't a review, a full review, so just bear with me for that. I will come out once I've used it a bit more, but it is wild.
So if I'm going to be completely honest, the setup for this thing was fairly challenging for a few reasons. Firstly, when this turned up, it turned up on a literal pallet, like a wooden pallet with this massive, ridiculously heavy box. Now I'm lifting it up there and it looks pretty simple, but this thing is ridiculously heavy. like unbelievably, to the point where, because I was having to do a lot of the unpacking out of that box, I genuinely threw my back out unpacking this thing. It was really bad and I'm still in pain from it today. Once I was getting it set up, it was relatively simple following the instructions. The instructions were quite clear. However, I didn't realise until I was setting it up that you do need a PC to get this thing going. Now, I only use Apple Macs. However, I did find a little PC laptop that I use for situations like this that is really old and very slow. But once I managed to get that done and finish getting this thing set up, I could get it on and paired. Now, this is the KATVR C2 Core, and it looks incredible. Now, it's not the highest end model, it's not the C2 Plus with all the haptic feedback and the lights and stuff underneath, but even this model does just look really nice. There's sort of nice detailing on it, even the sort of Velcro pads with the like sort of blue details everywhere. It just looks really sharp. Now, I have to try this thing out, so what better game to do it than Batman?
I am Batman. Today, I'm going to be playing my game.
No more Batman.
No more Batman. Yeah. Wait, I'm Batman.
Odd to flush them out, but the police have gone silent.
Let's go.
So essentially the way this thing works is that there's a kind of like laser pointer mouse trackers inside your shoes, and as you walk it maps that into the game, and this sort of bit in the middle sort of ties you into the same place.
You.
Now, normally you would need to have a gaming PC and have this connected through your gaming PC to work with games on Steam. However, if you have the KAT NEXUS, which is essentially what looks like a little mini TV box that sort of pairs up with the headset, you can connect this to your network and then use this as a standalone adapter for your games. So essentially, instead of the KAT C2 Core connecting to a PC, it's connecting to the Nexus, which then over your network will control your headset. And the thing that surprised me the most, I think, is that the latency was very good. Now, I have a fairly decent network in my house, so that's probably why. I imagine if you had a bad network, the latency might not be as good. But from my personal experience here, it's actually really good. Now, you may be thinking, Sam, what is the actual point of this? And ultimately, it's the same with any sort of VR type accessory. It's just how can you make these things that step more immersive? Now, as much as I am currently wearing a Batman costume in this video, that doesn't really add to the immersion when you're in VR, because you can see all your Bat stuff anyway. However, actually walking and actually having to put in the effort to get somewhere does immediately feel more immersive, especially when you compare it with things like combat.
It's to show. Nah. Yeah, motherfuckers. Justice. Batman. Yeah.
Now, how immersive is the actual treadmill? Does the walking actually feel like walking, is what I'm trying to say. And there is sort of a grey area with that. It does, and it also doesn't. Now, personally, I feel like I got used to it very quickly, but there is an element of it feels a bit like you're walking in a hamster ball, where you're moving and it slowly increases the momentum, and when you stop, then it slightly takes a little bit of a second to stop. Now, that could be down to a latency issue with my network, potentially, or that might just be how it works. It just feels not quite like walking, I guess. However, that being said, once you sort of get used to it, it does feel like you're putting in the effort to walk, and it just feels very natural. It doesn't take very long to adjust yourself to that.
Attack helicopter! Direct with wings.
Now, the way I like to judge any VR accessories is with this. What are the hurdles to actually getting in the game? So, for example, the initial setup is actually quite big with this one. It's unlike a lot of accessories in which it takes a long time to get ready, and also it takes up quite a lot of space. And as I said earlier, it is very heavy, so in order to sort of put this away, it's going to take quite a lot of effort. However, if you have the space for this and you're happy to sort of leave it out, it actually doesn't take a lot to get it up and running. Once you sort of wake everything up, you put your shoes on, and you're then pretty much ready to go. So if that's not an issue, it's something that I can actually see myself using quite regularly, especially if I want to play a game like, for example, Batman. I think I would prefer playing it on the treadmill as opposed to without the treadmill. Now, another potential issue that some people might find is the fact that this isn't going to be something that you can share particularly easy, unless the person you're sharing with has the same size feet as you. Because you need to have these very particular type of shoes that can put the trackers inside. Now, I am the only person with a US size 12 foot in my house, so I'm going to be the only person in my household that can use it. Some of my friends might be able to use it, and you might be able to squeeze into the shoes, but if you want the best experience, that is unfortunately just tailored to me. Ultimately, you can order more shoes to fit more people, but that is just an additional cost that you might not want to forgo once having to essentially spend money on this treadmill. The only other thing is that this thing is actually kind of loud. To give you an idea, as I'm walking now, I'm going to show you what the volume is like. Now, that noise is entirely coming from the sound of my shoes scraping against the plastic dish. The actual thing spins around silently. It is just the sound of the shoes, because the shoes are essentially plastic and you're just rubbing plastic against plastic. Now, as much as in the recording you can't hear that on the mic, when you're in the headset, if you're not wearing headphones, you can hear your feet moving quite loudly. So you need to either turn your headset up to maximum volume to sort of try and minimize that as much as possible, or wear headphones to sort of completely immerse yourself back into the game.
Vengeance. I am justice.
Now, one thing I think it's important to note is this is, I would say it's a positive thing, but some people could say it as a negative. It is very hard work, and the reason why I think this is a positive is that it actually gets you moving. Every step you take in game, you are actually taking. And it is tiring, genuinely. I feel like because you're not walking normally there is resistance in the walking. It's actually more tiring than doing the steps in real life. And that, again, I think can be a positive because you are essentially doing exercise. This is a way of doing exercise that is so immersive. It's just very, very interesting to me to see how far you could go with this. Could this be a full replacement for exercise, or do you think this actually is just sort of like going for a walk? Now, that's a test I'm probably going to have to do another time. How many calories do you actually burn on this thing? Because you are generally moving, your heart is going much faster than you would in other scenarios. So that is something that's very interesting to me. Honestly, I think the immersion is at its greatest when you are in sort of high intense scenarios. When you're just walking around the map, it's okay, but you know you're on the treadmill. When things are going on and they're sort of taking up your mindset and you're taking up the space, when there's fights happening or when you're running from something, that's when I think this will be its most intense and most immersive.
Justice is a dance. It's a bit of a shithole. Honestly, it's caught me for
What
worth
did you
it.
want to tell me, Commissioner? Where?
Oh shit. No.
Stay down.
Stay down.
Are you hit?
I'm fine. Just go after that son of a bitch.
Honestly, what I'm looking forward to doing, as much as I hate it and the idea of horror games in general just freaks me out, I'm really not a fan of them, and that's because I'm just a massive wuss. Now that I've played as Batman and I sort of have that sort of Batman style confidence, I'm going to have to take on a horror game. Maybe I'm going to go something like Resident Evil and play that on the Quest. And sort of that idea of dealing with a lot of intense stuff and having to move around, that's going to be something that I'll probably find incredibly immersive, but also just horrendously terrifying. So wish me luck with that. I'll probably try and do that for my next test.
See you later, Gordon. There's some work there. But I'm quite tired, so I'm gonna have a rest.
I need to leave. Gordon's under fire.
How do I save my game? Holy shit. I am sweating.
So guys, that is my first impressions with the KATVR C2 Core and the KAT NEXUS. I am very excited to show you more. So if you have particular things that you want to see, do you want to see me in Resident Evil? Do you want me to see me playing something completely different and what it's like? Stick it in the comments below and maybe you'll see it. I'm also planning on doing some live streams and stuff like that. So hang around and we'll see what we can do. Press that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one. Whoop!
I'm free.
Very sweaty.